Why did the Royalists lose the English Civil War? Popular perception of the English Civil War provides that the Royalists were never going to win. This is when viewed through the lens of what was happening in Europe at the time, where old monarchies were clashing with new and strategic republics and kingdoms like the Dutch and the Swedish. However, the difference with the English Civil War being was that this actually wasn't true at all. The English Civil War was not like the European struggles of these great Catholic kingdoms who could fund massive and powerful armies that, while they had the early upper hand, would soon be crushed by the tactical superiority of the Protestant European armies. And that's all well and good, and it provides us a very neat little context for the time period. The only problem was that during the English Civil War, the Royalists had been the side that had volunteered with the Dutch and the Germans and the Protestants, and they were the ones who brought back all these advanced tactics, and to boot, they were the ones with all the experience and none of the money, because Parliament had the money to fund new regiments, while the Royalists could barely fill their own. However, of course, this didn't mean that all was lost. The Royalists, of course, had the potential to ride that wave of early success and tactical superiority that they had from especially their cavalry regiments and cavalry commanders who had served in Europe to a much greater extent than their parliamentary equivalents, who, of course, we must mention, also had served in Europe. And again, this would not have been unprecedented. A lot of the victories in Europe around the time of the English Civil War were happening because of armies such as the Swedish and the Dutch, who were basically proceeding in warfare in the same way the Royalists were. But as soon as the parliamentarians were able to catch up, and trust me, it really wasn't long, there was really no distinct advantage the Royalists could muster. They had understrength regiments, they had understrength arms. For example, they had a higher ratio of pikemen than would have really been acceptable in Europe at that time at the outbreak of the war. Later in the war they did improve, but it really was too late, too little, especially because they had lost the distinct advantage of the tactical edge that they had had at the start of the war. Of course, there are many other reasons, but that's just one.